Hi, welcome to Book Club. I'm Dylan, here with the full-blood McGonagall. Keith, what's up, buddy?
You never go full blood, Dylan. You never go full blood.
Little Tropic Thunder reference, nice. Here at the Buddy Book Club, we're breaking down some bestsellers. This week, we're entering the Vanishing Cabinet, sneaking into Hogwarts, and chatting about Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince by J.K. Rowling. If you'd like to recommend a book for us to read or reach out to us on any past episodes, you can visit our website, buddybookclub.com. Send us an owl on Twitter or Instagram, Buddy Book Club Podcast. You listen to us on iTunes, Spotify, wherever you podcast. Please download, give us a 5-star review. If nothing else, give us a follow on some social channels, please, and thank you. Once again, disclaimer for the Harry Potter series, there are going to be spoilers. Keith, let's jump into stock up, stock down. What do you have for stock up on the Half-Blood Prince?
Yeah, stock up. Airplanes making you emotional.
Oh.
Have you had experienced this where you're like on an airplane and you're reading or you're listening to music or watching a movie and you're just much more likely to like tear up or feel things?
Yeah. It's an interesting phenomenon because I feel like it is. I was watching porn on an airplane one time and I got an absolutely raging boner and then I started crying. No, I have noticed it though. There's a few experiences. One, I started to like cry. Another time I was watching Her. Have you seen that movie? And that was when the airplane had only like a few movies you could watch. It wasn't like, pick your own adventure situation. And that movie's so bad. I hated it so much. And I was looking around at other people watching it and being so angry. So talk about another emotion I was feeling. I was so angry. I was like, this movie's terrible.
I didn't think it was that bad.
I don't know. Just get a fleshlight like the rest of us. And,
right,
and then
of
the
course,
third, third experience was I was on a trip to Vegas and I was watching on my iPad, I was watching some Anthony Bourdain No Reservations. And they were slaughtering a pig, which was extreme. It was showing everything. And I was like, I looked to the person next to me and I was like, I'm so sorry. I did not realize this was going to be happening. And she was like,
Then you turn your hardcore porn back on, right? You switch back on.
No, she was like, it's all right. This is why I'm a vegetarian. And I was like, oh, cool. Cemented her values. So yeah, emotions do fly high in the airplane. Let me get to your point.
Yeah, for some reason, I was experiencing those same emotions when I read this book with Dumbledore. Obviously the last ending part of the book, there was this weird discharge coming from my eyes. I don't know what was happening. I wasn't even on an airplane, and all this stuff was happening. So I guess these are what normal people have, the emotions. But I was tearing up. I didn't know Dumbledore died in this book.
Oh,
I wasn't ready for it.
What?
I thought it was book 7.
Right.
I thought it was early in book 7 that it happened. Definitely hit me much harder than knowing it was coming. I wasn't prepared for it. So yeah, that was a bit shocking. The one thing I will say too is, you're talking about the anger and about the movie Her and the emotions you'd feel there. When Umbridge showed up to the funeral at the end, which again, I didn't remember any of the funeral stuff. I think you just murder her, right? Like I'd go to Azkaban for that. I'm fine with that. Like my darkest, like biggest enemy showed up to my funeral. I think you can just kill that person. I think that's fair game. I think that like any judge would be like, well, they kind of had that coming. They got to throw that out.
Yeah, who
right?
also was so horrible to Dumbledore in the previous. The previous times we've seen her, it's like, what are you doing here? I would at least make a scene. Like, you do not deserve
I didn't know she was in the books. I honestly thought after book 5, she went to a sane asylum and like, you never heard from her again. And then she's in book 7. And I was like, what the hell? She's terrible in book 7. Yeah, I'm pissed that she's still alive. Which Dumbledore, I'm going to get to later. This is more of like a positive eulogy, but I have some negative stuff to talk about now. We get by this.
Don't you worry. Yeah, my first stock up, and I couldn't agree with you more, by the way, and we will have more to discuss about Dumbledore. I am sure of that. But my first stock up is used textbooks stock up. Normally you buy a used textbook and all you get is like some pages ripped out and, penises drawn on every other page. They're never more helpful. It was never a thing that you buy a used textbook and they become more helpful. I feel like college was a big place for used textbooks. Like in high school, they just give them to you. And then in college, like somehow they don't tell you there's like an extra $5,000 you have to spend on textbooks.
Half the classes, you don't even need the textbook. And they're like, yeah, this will be $125. You're like, what?
Oh, yeah. It was absurd. At least where I went to school, they had like their version of the textbook. So you couldn't even buy a used one. And then it would change every year. It'd be like a new volume, but it was no difference. All they did was like mix up all the chapters so you couldn't follow along. It was so messed up.
It'd be like a history class on the Civil War, and it's like, and well, now you have to buy the new version. It's like, what changed in the last 1 year that you didn't about the Civil War?
Exactly. But, and then you'd buy those used textbooks, and either you'd go to the class and the professor would say, oh, I'm sorry, that's not going to work for this class. And then you're out, however much you spent on that. And then you'd get that used textbook and it would be gross. Like it'd be like someone had dropped it into it. It would look like Tom Riddle's diary after Ginny like dropped it in the toilet and Moaning Myrtle like blew her snot boogies on it. So the Half-Blood Prince, we just got to give a shout out to him because he actually paid attention to his potions, advanced potions book. And on top of that, not only provided advanced potions, but then it provided lots of other spells and charms that could be performed by whoever found that later on. I almost don't know why Snape got rid of that book or how that book, maybe I guess it ended up in the potions cabinet because maybe Snape was keeping it there and then he became Defense Against the Dark Arts professor and he was like totally forgot about everything potions related because he was just like, oh my God, I finally got the job. This is amazing.
Yeah, the only thing that makes sense to me would be that was the book he used as a teacher, not as a...
Oh.
I don't understand how, as a student, you'd be able to do all of these experiments and do all this learning and all this stuff. So how would you ever be able to test this unless you became professor and then you started going through the textbook and being like, nah, this is how I would do it?
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense, actually. Because I was also wondering, it's like, okay, his advanced potions book, he's not even getting until like his 5th or 6th year. How much time is he actually going to spend doing potions and stuff? So yeah, that makes a lot more sense that he just continuously improved on that over time. So it was really like, you remember how they used to sell the teacher's manual for the textbook? You'd buy the textbook, but the teacher would also have a textbook, but it had like more information and stuff like that. That was what his was, basically, is what he turned that into. Oh, I like that. Yeah, so use textbook, stock up. What else you have for stock up?
Michael Jordan's Secret Stuff water.
Pardon me?
Have you ever seen Space Jam?
Sorry. Yeah, of course.
I feel like I've stocked up this, but this might have been like stock up like on episode 5 or 10 or something like that.
Like our 10th episode?
Yeah, it's a very specific stock.
But you're still buying.
But for those that aren't in the know, yeah, I'm still buying. In Space Jam, great movie, not the new one. We don't even count that. That's not, as D-Man would say, canon. The Toon Squad is getting absolutely demolished at halftime, and everyone's like, why can't we play like Michael? Why can't we play like Michael? And Bugs Bunny, being the smart rabbit that he is, takes just a water bottle and slaps on a tag that says Michael's Secret Stuff on it. So like Michael Jordan's been drinking some basically HGH or steroids or I don't know what, but that's what's giving him all these powers, right? It's all mental is basically what it comes down to, right? And the same thing happens in this. Ron thinks he gets Felix Felicis, and he's like, now everything is going to be easy for me. Everything's going to be lucky. I'm going to be a complete stud. And he is, because it's all mental. Well, you have that mindset, that attitude at life, then that happens. So stock up to that. I wish I could do the same thing as well as that Ron does.
We all just need, like, our morning coffee. We need the significant others to be coming in and being like, oh, I slipped some genius potion in there. And just like, oh, you get some genius today. Amazing. I also had stock up associated with that, which was the placebo effect. So I liked yours much better, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah. I thought it was a nice little touch there. And he fooled the reader. Harry did a good job of it because he does like the whole I'm trying to hide it, but shows his hand, he did it's almost like an Ocean's 11 type move kind of thing that he did there, And then in general though, like I kind of wanted to talk about Felix Felicis because it's a fascinating potion. And to me, like the description of Harry after he took it, like his experience, it kind of seemed like that 2 to 3 drink summer high you get, if you have like your second or third drink where you're still fully hydrated and fully cognitive. There's none of the negative effects of alcohol. It just puts this kind of glow on this summer day. You're about to go to the beach or something like that. It's just like, you're just walking around feeling like the entire world is on your side. 2, 3 twisted teas and you're about to go do something. Yeah. That's kind of what the Felix Felicis was, I picture it just like a giant vat of some vodka iced tea with big old icebergs of magic ice in there.
That's a great comment because that was going to be my favorite magical element. And I was going to ask you, is there anything in the world that's like that? And you kind of nailed it. The only thing that you didn't nail is that literally I could do that every single day.
Yeah, that's the problem.
You can't do Felix Felicis every single day. I could do 2 to 3 20s and go to the beach every single day for the rest of my life. That would be no issue with me. That's why I was like, oh, is that like meth?
Yeah. When they first started talking about it, I was like, oh, this is kind of like what people that are like microdosing acid must feel like,
Yeah.
But
Well, yeah, you can't do a lot of that either.
but then eventually you
the
like
only
think
problem.
you can fly or something like that. I don't think there's a
Yeah.
problem with microdosing acid. I think the problem is people that just like take lots and lots of acid and then get psychosis.
And then also the love potion, that was just roofies, right? So I don't know what that
Yeah,
was. That was a weird part.
very
of the book.
odd part of the book, especially because they were so prominent, these love potions, and it seems like a serious violation. You should be
Yeah.
getting sent to Azkaban if you're giving someone love potions all the time. And this,
Especially because you're slipping it
yeah,
into
oh
someone's
yeah,
thing.
100%. And
Yeah.
it's not
Great.
like couples in couple therapy, taking some ecstasy and then having a nice night with each other. This is like who's the Jello guy? Bill Cosby. Yeah,
Bill
you're Bill
Cosby,
Cosby
yeah.
slipping someone a Mickey. Like, this is not appropriate. And these teenagers are just slipping people love potions all willy-nilly. And it seems like the school is kind of turning a blind eye on it. I don't know if Dumbledore's slipping. Actually, I know Dumbledore's slipping, but the love potion thing seemed a bit confusing, and it seemed like anyone could brew it. Or wait, were the Weasleys selling it? Is that what it was?
Yeah, the Weasleys were selling it. That was a little bit,
Yeah,
questionable.
it's like what? So people can just go into a store.
Seems like a lot of liability
Yeah.
there. Yeah, I think you're getting sued.
Once
pretty quick
again, the
from that.
ministry is just not doing their job
No.
of regulating these dangerous potions. I mean, we already know the effect when we hear back to Voldemort's mom's story. We know the effect of these love potions. JK puts out someone who had actually done it and given it to someone. She's somewhat of a creature based on the inbreeding, which I'm sure we'll get to as well. And the local town Gaston, she gets on her side because she gives him these love potions for like a significant amount of time that he sires a child with her, and the only reason why she can't keep him is because she loves him so much that she has to stop giving him the love potion. Seems like it's a Schedule A drug or Schedule 1 or whatever the schedules are. My next stock up is the D.E.N.N.I.S system. Is anyone familiar with the D.E.N.N.I.S system? Any Always Sunny fans out there? Well, I have to say that Harry executes the system very well in his relationship with Ginny. D demonstrates value when he saves her from Diary Tom Riddle. E engages physically. They snog after the Quidditch victory. Nurture dependence. He starts the DA, acts as her protector. He brings all these people into the DA. He's like, oh, Ginny, don't worry. As long as I'm on your side, dark wizards, the ministry, no one's going to get to you. That's nurturing dependence. Neglect emotionally. The last 6 years, he's pretty much not paid a ton of attention to her, even though he knows that she's into him. And when he finally does get her, he doesn't take her on dates, or, have any real heart-to-hearts, like, oh, no, sorry, I'm too busy with Dumbledore saving the world, like, we'll go back and snog later. So neglect emotionally for sure. Inspires hope, absolutely. He gets her to believe that after all these years, we're together, we're going to be going steady, but S separate entirely. He uses Voldemort as an excuse to break up with her without having her feelings hurt, and with also being able to keep her on the line. So going forward, if he ever needs to pull her back in, like in book 7 when they start snogging again, he just executes it perfectly, where although he separates entirely, he still leaves that little breadcrumb trail in case he needs to go back there, and she can't be mad at him about it. So I would say that he executes the D.E.N.N.I.S system better than has ever been executed, honestly.
That's an incredible poll. I have no notes, and that's gonna be the clip right there. It's easy. That's ingenious right there. You must have got slipped some genius potion this morning.
I got a little Felix Felicis in my Corona that I'm having right now.
All right.
The last one real quick. Slughorn pulls a move where he ruins his entire house because he doesn't want visitors. I had to stock that up. Stocking up, if you don't want people to come over your house, just start messing everything up. And if for us in the non-wizarding world, it's a little more difficult because then you have to like put it all together yourself. But you could just like mess up kind of like one area and then take a picture of it, send it to who's ever coming over, be like, sorry, we got robbed. Can't come. They're never going to follow up. They're going to be like, oh my God, that's terrible. You'd be like, yeah. Did they take anything? No, actually nothing got stolen, Oh, okay, cool. That's it. No one's going to want to bring that up to you because they're going to be like, that was a horrible memory for them. Why would I go back and ask them if anything ever came of that? So easy peasy. Just destroy your house. No visitors.
Smart. All right, fair enough.
Stuck down. What do you got?
Dumbledore stuck down.
Here it
I
is.
mean, this is gonna be a long rant. Someone had to do it.
He's in one of mine too. He's stuck down as Dumbledore is my last one.
I mean, Dumbledore had a rough book. He finally starts meeting with Harry and giving him the backstory, which I appreciated. That was nice. But I mean, the first thing is Dumbledore's like disposition is kind of this whimsical, talks in riddles. Never really gives a full straight answer. Which fine, that's your character. That's what you do. But then Harry starts like asking follow-up questions, and he starts getting upset with them, which pissed me off. I was like, "Yo, bud, start answering the question, and then Harry won't have to, give a follow-up." And like also, if you're trying to give him this huge big project, maybe stop leaving out all the gaps. Like we saw this happen last year.
You already talked about this the previous year when you're like, "Sorry, I should never have done that," and you're still doing it.
It's almost like he likes having power over people, so he doesn't fill everyone in on everything. You can be whimsical, but then you can't get angry when someone asks a follow-up.
Now we actually have a little bit of this like angry Dumbledore, not like angry, but he's coming out of his shell a little bit in this book. Imagine Michael Gambon doing this version of Dumbledore, because when Dumbledore was as chill as possible, that 2 to 3 Twisted Tea Dumbledore, and Michael Gambon's yelling, "Did you put your name in the goblet of fire?" Imagine what he's going to do with this one. But
he's going to be like doing the torture curses on him.
Crucioing Harry.
Nextly, the biggest thing Harry keeps telling him and what Dumbledore keeps waving off is like, "Yo, Malfoy, there's an issue with him. There's something going on with Malfoy." And he's like, yeah, don't worry about it. Do you think I wouldn't know everything that's going on? Turns out he didn't know everything that's going on. It turns out he didn't know shit. Like, he lets Death Eaters into the castle with tons of innocent students and a werewolf running around the castle with tons of innocent students. This is the same people that were shitting all over Neville for leaving out a piece of paper.
You're never going to let that one down.
No, I'm not. No one says anything about this. Dumbledore, like, that's your one job is to protect the students, and you didn't even, like, look into it when Harry's literally given, like, 6 or 7, like, hints about it.
Okay, so he comes clean at the end that he knew about the Malfoy thing from the beginning.
That's my next point.
Go on.
And that's the biggest thing, is that it's revealed that Dumbledore knew the whole time about Malfoy.
We need a Mark, what's his name? Mark Ruffalo. He knew, and he let him get away with it. That was about raping children. This is just about werewolves. Spotlight, that's the movie.
Yeah, I gotcha. Yeah, he's like, yeah, I knew this whole time. However, what is the solution now that they've finally confronted it? He's like, well, I'll protect you and your family. Then why didn't you just say that at the very beginning? What was the reason? There was no reason. If the whole thing is like, I can confront them and then I'll go protect them, if that's all you're going to do? He wasn't like he was gaining more information or doing anything different there was no reason not to do that right off the bat.
Why wait until things reach that head or basically a point of no return for Malfoy? Whereas you could, after the Slughorn he gets Ron, or even after the Katie Bell situation, you could have just called him to your office, sat him down when it's just you two, and you kind of have a little pressure on him because it's now just you two, and you're like, "Hey, Draco, I know what's going on here. I know you're trying to poison me. I understand it. I can help your family. You don't have to go through all of this." He's crying. Draco's crying to Moaning Myrtle about having to do this. It's like he was ready to crack. Like, he's ready to turn and say, "I don't want to do this." Malfoy now realizes what being a Death Eater is all about, and he really doesn't have the stomach for it. So Dumbledore could have swooped in way earlier, but now, after Malfoy's already let these Death Eaters into the castle, which, Dumbledore's like, "Oh, I never realized that." It's like, are you kidding me, Dumby? What are you doing here?
Well, yeah, and he's waved off 2 attempted murders. He's almost killed 2 students, and he's like, whatever. And this is my biggest problem is like, why are we protecting someone that's not exactly innocent at the expense of everyone that's innocent? Malfoy and his parents are not innocent people. They've opted into doing these things. Why are we protecting them? It doesn't make any sense. It's like that, that diagram where it's like a train coming down the tracks and it's about to hit a bunch of people. And you can pull the
philosophical
lever
argument or whatever. Prisoner's Dilemma, I think it is. Or is it the other one? I don't know.
It's one of those things. But the difference here is the train's coming down the track. It's only going to hit the Malfoys, and Dumbledore's pulling the lever so that it goes and hits like 30 other people instead.
Yeah, the other lever is like killing all these innocent children, turning them into werewolves, releasing Voldemort onto the world, and potentially killing yourself. And he's like, all right, let's do that one.
Why is Bill, why are the DA students, why is all the people in the Order of Phoenix paying the price so that we can save these 3 fuckboys?
Yeah, it's like Lucius Malfoy already reopened the Chamber of Secrets, pretty much. All the stuff that Draco's done. You're allowing students. I couldn't agree with you more. But I just think in general throughout this book, we get a lot of slip-ups from Dumbledore in general, which is why we have this talk down here. Why did he put the gaunt ring on in the first place?
Oh, I assumed he had, like, to get it out, he had to put it on or something. I don't know. Well, yeah, they didn't really explain that, right?
But we learn more about Dumbledore in the 7th book, and we'll talk about that then. But I think it was more of like he wanted to learn something, or it was a slip up. Either way, it's a slip up. Putting that gaunt ring on and then withering out his hand, not a good look for one. Not having Harry drink the potion, in general, the whole cave scene is just bad coaching. It's just a bad coaching moment. He underestimates his opponent. He's like, oh, this is so classic Voldemort. He thinks that physical power is the only thing that matters, or whatever the case is. Next thing you know, there's Inferi coming out of the water, and he's got to drink this potion to weaken you. It's like, oh, actually, looking back, that, Dumbledore even says, like, looking back, that was a pretty good, for the spells and charms, like, that was pretty good by Dumbledore. It's like, don't underestimate your opponent. You're going up against Voldemort. What are you doing? And then not having Harry drink the potion, because I don't know exactly why. Dumbledore, you are the better wizard here. If this potion is going to affect someone, then wouldn't you rather it be Harry? So then you can help Harry, and if you guys need to get out of there, then you're going to do a better job of getting you guys out of there than he would. And I do understand the counter argument that he's put so much suffering upon Harry that he doesn't want Harry to continue to suffer, and like he knows that this is probably going to fuck him up, and also like Harry's the most important. But he says like it's not going to kill you. Like that wouldn't make any sense. That's not what Voldemort wants to do. So he knows it's not going to kill Harry. It was just bad coaching. Simple as that. He's the head coach here, and it's bad coaching.
And it's more saving one innocent person, in this case, Harry's actually innocent, but hurting thousands of others, because everyone knows the only person he's scared of is Dumbledore, so why would you weaken the one person that could save thousands of thousands of other people?
It's taking the queen off the chessboard in a chess game.
Yeah, so once Dumbledore is injured or dies, that really just opens up the floodgates. He's the only person that's holding the waters back, and he's like, well, it's not that big of a deal. I'll just take all these sacrifices. Like, no, it is a big deal. Like that's
which is his last slip up that I had written down, was just dying. Don't die, Dumbledore. I know Harry's super important, but all of the stuff that Harry has to do going forward, it would be a lot easier if you were around. So
for sure.
Just don't die. It's probably that simple. Just for the sake of Malfoy or whatever the case is. It's so dumb. Yeah, Dumbledore stock down as well. Well, I mean, because we're on this same train of thought, I'm going to continue with my stock down, which is gaslighting. And I know that we've talked about gaslighting here and there on this podcast, and people kind of throw it around these days. But just so we're aware, gaslighting is a manipulative tactic that involves causing a person to question their own reality, memories, and perceptions. It is a form of emotional abuse that can happen in any relationship. Everyone is gaslighting Harry in this book. Every single person that he talks to that matters to him is gaslighting him. He's like, hey, I think Malfoy is fucking some shit up. I have some like pretty not great evidence, but I think we should look into this. And everyone's like, oh, you're always out for Malfoy, Harry. You're always out for Malfoy. He's like, I think Snape's trying to fuck with us. Dumbledore's like, I trust Severus. Every single thing, and then they turn it back on him too, where they're like, oh, you've always had this thing, you've always had this prejudice, you're always trying to get Draco, you and him are enemies. Like, no, there's a lot of sketchy circumstantial things that are going on that I need people behind me to support in some degree. And I'm kind of upset that at the end Harry never does like a big I told you so. There's a little I told you so, but there should be a way bigger I told you so. And obviously we don't know about the future of Snape at this point, but if this is your first time going in, you're pissed, because it's like Harry has been warning everyone for years. Harry's been warning everyone about Malfoy, and everyone just pushes his ideas aside and says he's obsessing, and next thing you know, they kill Dumbledore. What? Yeah,
and if he didn't give the Felix Felicis to all Dumbledore's army, then what would happen to them? More blood would be on Dumbledore's hands.
Yeah, I mean, talk about inspiring hope. You slip Ginny some Felix Felicis, and we're back to the Dennis system. Inspiring hope.
I mean, the problem is Harry's batting 800. He's fucking absolutely raking at the plate. but the last at bat he struck out, and so everyone's just like, well, I don't know about this dude. I was like, bro, he's batting 800. Like you gotta go with the hot hand here. You gotta trust the guy that's been right 4 out of 5 times.
He also had great intuition with not only Malfoy, but also with Tonks, the whole like Tonks relationship. He was like, oh, do you think that she's upset? He misjudged a bit. He thought it was because of Sirius. She was like, do you think she was in love with Sirius? And like, that's why this and this happening. And everyone's like, oh, get out of here, Harry. But he was close.
Wait, wasn't Sirius and her cousins or something?
Yeah, it doesn't matter in the Wizarding world. It doesn't matter.
All right, don't worry about that.
That's going to be my next talk down. So you just wait. But yeah, it's not a big deal in the Wizarding world. People just do that. Right. It was Lupin. It wasn't Sirius, but he was on the right. You know, Harry's got good intuition, and that's been proven over the past 5 years. So maybe people should start listening to him. I don't know. Did you have another stock down?
Stock down Mariah Carey's Obsessed song.
Ooh, I love that song. About Eminem, right?
Jam, right? Yeah.
I love that song. Why so obsessed?
Great song.
Yeah. Very catchy.
So the backstory on that is she wrote that about Eminem, and then Eminem turned around and wrote the song called The Warning, if you've ever heard of that. I
don't know if I have.
It's not like a publicly released song. It's like a YouTube song. It's him just freestyling for 3 minutes straight, just absolutely eviscerating her. Yeah, but that's exactly what happened in this situation. In this case, Mariah Carey is Harry Potter, where for the first 5 books, I'm like, why is Malfoy just showing up all the time being like, Harry, 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 like obsessed with him? And then the little blonde-haired kid finally poked back. In this case, Malfoy. Now Harry is obsessed with Malfoy. My whole perspective changed. I'm like, maybe we've just been seeing it through the eyes of Harry this whole time, where like Malfoy will show up and say something to him, but in reality, like the first 5 years has just been seeking him out and like ribbing him and doing this stuff and just like not including it in the text. You know, he's not really giving us that perspective. So I really think that my whole mindset of Malfoy and his obsession with Harry has been wrong. And this book 6 kind of changed that. All he's doing is thinking and talking about Malfoy. This the whole book.
It is definitely
it's kind of weird.
The flip situation.
He's like Ginny, Malfoy, Ginny, and Malfoy. He's like, wait, what? Which one are you? Which one are you looking for?
Harry falls so hard for Ginny. It's like she's been there the whole time, and then all of a sudden he just can't do anything if she's around. I did like the little thing at the beginning when they're in potions class, and whatever that love potion or whatever the smell is of the potion they're making, it's supposed to
it's
like her smell, but it's like very loosely related. You know, at that point you're not, as we've read it, so we know, but I don't know if the first time you really pick up on that is like, oh, Harry loves Ginny, that's why he smells that. If I was Eminem and she released that song about how I'm obsessed with her, I'd be like, my YouTube song would be like, yeah, I mean, have you seen the Honey music video? Of course I'm obsessed with you. You're fucking gorgeous. What are we talking about here? Sorry, I'm not sorry. My last stock down is Charles Darwin, you know, the theory of evolution guy.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, talk about a guy who's batting 800. He crushed the whole theory of evolution thing and understood the implications of inbreeding, yet he himself married his first cousin and went on to have 10 children, 3 of whom didn't survive past the age of 10. And then I think 3 more of the ones that did survive were infertile and had a bunch of other health conditions and whatnot. People have to look into that. I'm just kind of going from what I know, so I could be talking a bunch of shit. But either way, he definitely married his first cousin, and there was some effects of inbreeding. And he knew better. He knew better. So, you know, we know that inbreeding is bad, yet the Gaunts, and we assume the Malfoys and potentially the Weasleys are, you know, participating in this inbreeding. I mean, look at the Gaunts themselves. They're very serious about their family and their heritage and whatnot. I feel like there's a weird rednecky situation going on with them. Is that bad to say?
No, although I don't know if redneck's a thing in
no,
UK,
I know, but
so.
it's like the family from Deliverance or something like that.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, they have a very strong Deliverance vibe, and I mean, they're talking about the son who's one eye's looking north and the other eye's looking east. It's like, you know, I can understand why Tom Riddle went back and was like, I do not want to associate with these people. I'm going to become the worst wizard in the world. So yeah, just in general, inbreeding, don't do it. It's confirmed that it can fuck your shit up. So,
well, I will defend my boy Charles Darwin here a little bit. I mean, this also may be because everyone was inbreeding, but I looked up the statistics because I was like, I don't know, that seems not that bad in the 1800s. That's when he was born. 30% of children died before their first birthday. 43 did not survive past their fifth birthday, and only 60% who lived to age 10 survived to adulthood.
Oh.
So he's got it right around the statistic. He's over above the Mendoza line there. You're fine, you know?
Yeah. So it's maybe he's history was too hard on him. It's like statistics, man. When you throw it in just a small sample size of this thing, you don't know. But if you look at the bigger picture, everything was normal for him. Favorite chapter? What do you got?
I mean, we already talked about it. I really think the ending, it was great. I also remembered zero part of the post Dumbledore stuff. I think because when you first read it, you're in shock. I think she did a great job of covering the in shockness after the fact for everyone's emotions and everything like that. So I thought that was great.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me a lot of Lord of the Rings in the sense of I've seen those movies so many times, and then if you go back and read the books, you read Return of the King. And whatever happens in the movies ends and there's still like 50, 75 pages left. And you're like, wait, what? And there's all this other stuff. And I feel like that's what the movie's going to be like in the sense of, because I can't remember this movie. I kind of remember this thing ending when Dumbledore fell out of the window, or fell off the tower. And I knew there was some stuff after that, but there was a good amount of like Dumbledore's funeral and people dealing with their grief kind of situation.
Yeah.
That we didn't really get. It's hard. This was a really good book. There's lots of fun moments throughout. I think probably Harry's Felix Felicis was one of my favorite moments of it because you get so much stuff going on in there between that time with Hagrid and like him getting drunk or like not drunk because like he's fake drinking, which I appreciate. He's like fake drinking and then forcing the other two to get drunk, and they're just toasting back and forth to everything, and Aragog's funeral to then his conversation with Slughorn. I thought all that was great too. But yeah, the ending, I mean, seeing the whole Infuri stuff, it just seems really cool. Like it was like, oh, this is a big magic moment kind of thing. Favorite character? I feel like in this we get Lavender Brown has a bigger role in this book with with all the snogging and all. Obviously Slughorn's a new character. McLaggen gets a bunch of screen time or page time, whatever the case is. I'm sure he won't even be in the movie. And then I guess we have like Fenrir Greyback, who is somewhat of a character. Did you have obviously it could be anybody else, but I was just saying the new ones. Did you have a favorite in this one?
Mine was Ginny.
Oh yeah, of course. Mine too.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. I mean, I just thought it was hilarious when Ron catches her making out with Dean. Mm-hmm. I think Ron had a pretty appropriate response of like, come on, man. Like, I don't want to see this shit. Like, this is my sister. Like, and like, this is my buddy, Dean. I know that you're doing it right in front of everyone so they can see it. And she's like, that's because you're a piece of shit. That's a prude. That hasn't done shit. You're like making out with your pillow upstairs, you fucking loser. I was like, oh my. She went 0 to 100 so quick. Ron was like crying after it pretty much. I know he wasn't crying, but he was crying. That was a tough look for him. And and then she's like breaking up with people on whims. She's crushing it in Quidditch. Then hooks up with her brother's best friend right in front of him and dares him to say shit. She's like, what are you going to do, bitch? I was like, holy shit. Ginny's fucking flexing on everyone in this book, and I appreciate it.
And you realize Ron's just jealous because of all the inbreeding stuff, right?
Good point.
No, I mean, I thought Ginny's the only person in this entire book series who is living her Hogwarts experience. Like maybe Hermione, but Hermione's doing it in her own way, which is like very bookish, which I appreciate as well. But Ginny is like, I'm in high school. I'm going to have all these awesome experiences and like, yeah, I'm going to date this one person and I'm going to date this other person and I don't care. I'm enjoying myself. I'm enjoying my sexuality. I'm being a stud at Quidditch. I'm doing it all. And then snaps, like she's like quick-witted and is like snapping back at people and whatnot. Like she gives no fucks.
She had quite the glow up because she went from like not talking and being shy to like, yo, I'm the biggest fucking cock of the walk in this whole school.
Yeah, she definitely found her confidence, had a little she's all that moment for sure. But and that's why I love Ginny so much in this book, and I think because of that is why I hate Ginny so much in the movie.
I feel like you haven't said anything about that. That's weird. You hate it.
Yeah, I just because she has this moment. I agree she was like shy and obviously was like scared of Harry and stuff at the beginning. And then like Hermione says, she's like, oh, Ginny just like moved on at one point. And she was like, fuck it. Like, I'm not going to sit around and obsess with Harry. I'm going to go and enjoy my Hogwarts experience. Like, we only get to go to Hogwarts once. So like, let me go and enjoy this. So, yeah, Ginny was awesome. And she's in the DA. She knows her spells. She's like better at Quidditch than any of her brothers because she was out there on her own time practicing with their brooms when they wouldn't even play with her. Excuse me. No euphemism.
Easy.
No euphemism.
Easy.
But yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome. I love Ginny. Magical element. Did you have anything here? I figured this is not spell, but magical element. So obviously, I feel like Felix Felicis would fit in here. Yeah, I feel like that's hard to not have.
That was the best part of the book, I think, or one of the best elements of the book.
Definitely, cool idea. I do wonder, and it was in my lingering questions, why doesn't the Ministry just have like 2 giant vats of Felix Felicis in case Voldemort comes back, or like in case they have a wizard war, or like why doesn't Dumbledore have a bunch of this? Like, why isn't there more of this around? Like, if Slughorn's able to brew some up, shouldn't they have their chemists, like their wizard chemists, just brewing up Felix Felicis for moments that are needed?
I think it's because, one, it's incredibly hard to make, so it'd be like, I guess gold isn't that hard to come by, but like it'd be something that's like extraordinarily rare commodity.
But it's hard to make it because it takes time, they said. It was like, oh, it takes 6 months. It's like, so people drink whiskey that's been barreled for like 30 years or whatever the case is. So.
Right. But my assumption was like couldn't make that much quantity because there is some ingredient that's impossible, to get for it. If it's not a supply issue, then yeah, you should have it on hand at all times and be ready to use it when needed.
Yeah, I think just in general, I like Felix Felicis for sure. I think in general, like, I just always have a Basil around. Imagine if you're going to a bachelor party and it's like, oh, the next day we're supposed to like, you're in Vegas. It's like, we're taking a trip to the Hoover Dam or going 4-wheeling. It's like, oh, I've been at the craps tables since till 4 a.m. just drinking. Swallow a Bazor and you're like, I'm ready to go. So I love myself a Bazor as well. For your spell, we get a couple. I mean, obviously they're Snape related. We get Levio Corpus. Sectum Sempra is obviously a huge thing in this book when Harry Sectum Sempra is Malfoy's blood all over the bathroom. Pretty fortunate that Snape was right there because I feel like Sectum Sempra, like you would just bleed out real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they must have every kid's blood type on file at Hogwarts. You just have to, right?
I think blood types are made up, honestly. I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times. I don't get that.
What's your blood type?
Does that make any sense to you? I don't know.
I have no idea either.
Yeah. Isn't that so weird that there's like how does that even work?
I saw a good GIF, I think it was probably on Reddit or something like that explained, it was like a moving GIF of all the different blood types as like which blood type matches with the other ones. Most of them match themselves, but then there's the whole O situation, which really throws everything off. And it was like a really well explained one. And I was like, oh, this is good. Now I understand it. And then I closed that window and I forgot it immediately.
I'm just trying to think of like the first person that's like, we can use someone else's blood and put it into someone and it like saves their lives. Like, oh my God, that's incredible. And then someone did it and like killed them. And they're like, well, I don't know why that was.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of that. It was like, oh, this works sometimes. Like, okay, let's do it.
Oh, okay.
And it just like didn't.
Yeah, so that's how they found out. Okay. That makes
sense. Also watched at some point in my past, probably like, at work when you're like in your 20s and you're trying to sneak watching a YouTube video like during the day because you're just doing boring stuff. And I watched like a 10-minute Discovery Channel thing about the figuring out of blood types. Pretty interesting story.
Oh, so there is something.
Oh, yeah. Right. Like people, obviously people figured it out. I don't know. I can't remember when it was. I want to say like early 1900s or something like that. But yeah, crazy. Did you have a spell?
Mine was a charm.
Oh.
The refill charm.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know this was a thing you could just do. Why are people buying new bottles of butterbeer? Just fucking keep refilling that bad boy. Do you think they have like the bars have like they basically prevent you from doing charms or something? Like what's the, you know what I mean? Like what's the reason just not refilling everything all the time?
Yeah, like people that try to sneak in their own booze to a bar, when you're younger and you're like bringing nips into the bar to save some money.
Yeah.
It's like, nope, sorry, you're kicked out. And yeah, it was a very interesting charm. Between that and the ability to vanish stuff, it really makes me feel like Trelawney might be a squib because she's using the Room of Requirements to hide her empty sherry bottles. And between this spell and the spell that just vanishes stuff, it seems like she could just be refilling her sherry bottle. Like you would never need to not do that. I wonder how that works because you could just, why make any more? If it had a drop, you can turn that drop into 2 drops and turn that drop into 4 drops, and then this all of a sudden you got a full glass. So
I like how also they're like, not only is Trelawney a terrible, terrible teacher,
she's a drunk.
And she's an alcoholic. Umbridge, though, she sucked for firing her. Huh?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. It's also just hilarious that Trelawney specifically uses the room of requirements to hide her sherry bottles.
Yeah, it seems like one of the worst reasons to use it.
We do get a glimpse of the Ravenclaw diadem in this one when they go into the room of requirements, when Harry does. My favorite spell was Muffliato, which is like the silencing spell. I have a baby, so it really should explain itself. I have a baby and a dog that barks at everything, so I would love to just Muffliato all sorts of stuff. And mainly those 2 things. Favorite magical creature? We really only have Inferi, right? Are the only new ones?
I went with Fenrir Greyback.
Oh, where are we at?
And him just being an absolute savage and not transforming and still eating people.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that could be a great, great character. I'm guessing he's not even in the movie.
He is.
But oh, is he?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if he's like
that
called
is a
out
kind of
as who he is, though.
Okay. But that's like a rugged bad guy. I was like thinking like, oh, if she ever wanted to do like a side quest book, that'd be a cool one to have, where like his origin story, or like how I don't know how his story ends in this, I forget, but like that'd be a villain that would be a good arc to follow.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of like Sabretooth and X-Men. I don't know if you're a big X-Men guy, but he kind of has that Sabretooth vibe. But yeah, it's pretty crazy that he just decides like, I'm going to go all in and just be a werewolf even when I'm not a werewolf. And then Bill is like bit by him, and his only thing is he like likes red meat more. Like he likes meat rarer. But yeah, they say Bill's face is all messed up and stuff. So it must have been like a Hannibal Lecter type situation where his face just literally got eaten off. I just had to go with the Inferi. I mean, we're talking about the Living Dead. You know, I love zombie movies. I'm playing Last of Us, which is pretty much a zombie thing. But in general, I just love zombie movies, and that's pretty much what Inferi are. So I had to go with them. Simple as that. Keith, what do we love about the Half-Blood Prince?
Great quote from Dumbledore. It's the unknown we fear when we look upon death and darkness. Nothing more. Oof, that gave me chills. I fucking love that.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because a lot of people love Dumby quotes and like know them from Harry Potter, and I couldn't.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, it's like a big thing. And I couldn't think of one off the top of my head, but then when I heard this line, I was like, that's a great quote. Like, so we were on the same page there, because I heard it, I was like, oh. And it's so true as well. I guess that's why it's such a great quote, is because it is true as well. So yeah, definitely gave me a little goose pimples myself. For love, I feel like this one just starts out with a bang. We usually kind of get a slow burn into it, and although Goblet of Fire kind of starts with a bang too, but it's almost like a greatest hits album in the first 50 pages of this one. We get Dumbledore early, which we love. We usually don't see Dumbledore till get any real Dumbledore interaction till the end of a book. We get the Burrow early. We both love the Burrow. Everything that happens to the Burrow is great except for the incest. And lessons with Dumbledore. It's like, oh, Dumbledore's going to do lessons with me this year. So you're like, okay, this year's going to be awesome because we get lessons with Dumbledore. We get even more Dumbledore. Harry becomes the Quidditch captain, which tells us there's going to be Quidditch. We're going to get more Quidditch in this one, although his captainship it's kind of slid in there, here and there, mostly with the tryout scene. But in general, it was like, wow, this is going to be awesome. And then it starts pretty much with like Dumbledore talking to Harry's aunt and uncle, which was fun, and then them going to Slughorn. It was just such a great start that I was all in from the jump.
Great point. The whole book, I mean, I think was great, because especially because I said the last book 5, I was a little bit disappointed because I never remember thinking 5 was bad, and I placed it as my last placed book. Yeah. This one I think really revitalized things, especially the second half, like I already mentioned in the ending. It was the first book too where I guess Goblet of Fire kind of ends negatively, but we catch the bad guy, we get the ultimate goal, right? Done. Most of the books we have that same
it's the same cadence
like,
kind of thing.
Yeah, the end is like we get a big reveal. Harry comes triumphantly, and we do it like we said earlier. He went 4 for 4, but this one there was definitely really like a super solemn ending where nothing good happened. The last one, at least, like Harry's right, Voldemort's back, now everyone believes him. This one, there's no positives really at the end of the book here. It's just like not only was he right about Snape, but Dumbledore's dead, and now he's this big quest ahead, and like nothing good happened.
Yeah,
So I like that.
I also guess we forgot about magic elements, but like Horcruxes in general, which we really haven't even talked about. On top of that, it's like now there's 4 Horcruxes out there that I don't really even know what a few of them are, and how am I going to find these? I don't even have Dumbledore anymore. It's a low. It's Luke getting his arm cut off after fighting Vader, and then the Empire taking out the entire resistance, and we don't know what's going to happen. You know, it's that kind of a situation. So yeah, I love how it's so down at the end after being awesome, and you feel like the stakes are at as high as possible right now for Harry and team. So yeah, big fan of that. And I kind of talked about it in my other love, but you know, we just get so much Dumbledore in this. Like we normally we see Dumbledore at the end of the book, and this we're seeing him throughout the entire book. He's a main character in this story for the first time ever. And with him comes all of these trips into the Pensive, which I just loved. Hearing about Voldemort's past was so interesting, and you don't know why necessarily Dumbledore's showing it to him. I mean, as Sun Tzu says, know thy enemy. So you think that's probably the idea, is like, okay, you want to know who Voldemort is. But then at the end it's revealed like, oh, it was all because of this Horcrux thing. And now we're showing you one, you know, that how Dumbledore found this cave situation, and then also the other potentials for Horcruxes. And you also see a lot of not only early Tom Riddle, but Tom Riddle's family. I love all origin stories, whether they're good guys or bad guys. We've talked about this, but bad guy origin stories are super fun. I did very much enjoy that as well. And then just for the ending in general, because this is obviously very big. Harry's been talking about Snape this whole time. Everyone's defending Snape, and then Snape ends up killing Dumbledore. Like, do you remember your first time reading this book and how that affected you?
I think I remember someone spoiling it for me, but I almost didn't believe them. You know, one of those things where, because I remember I read it probably like 5 days into the release. It wasn't like one of those things where I'll save it for a month. It was pretty quick. You remember when this came out, people were reading it that night. Yeah. Like, it was a 24-hour turnaround. And so
people were outside Barnes and Noble, like, I mean, for all of the other books too, but like this one for sure. I remember, I mean, and I've also seen a video, which is hilarious and terrible, by the way. I mean, you can probably still find it on YouTube, of people at that time like lined out of Barnes and Noble for the midnight release, and some guy driving by being like, Dumbledore dies on page 726.
That's so
like
brutal.
People chasing the car down.
Yeah, that guy should, similar to Umbridge, that guy should be murdered, and no issues with that. So yeah,
one of my friends did ruin it. It was a big thing, like ruining the ending for someone. If you'd read this and someone hadn't read it, that was the other reason why you had to do it. You had to read it quickly, because you were going to be screwed if someone ruined it for you. And I had a friend at a party who was like, she was like, oh yeah, books, or where someone said like, you know, Half-Blood, and he was like, oh my god, when Dumbledore died, it was crazy. She was like, I'm halfway through, what the fuck, dude? I would be so mad. So mad.
I also remember thinking, and this could be revisionist history, like I probably maybe didn't think this when I was at the time, but I remember thinking like, there's no way Snape is actually bad, because if that's the case, then Dumbledore is one of the worst wizards of all time.
It's fair.
You know what I mean? Because he has such a bad book, I remember thinking, and I'm like, there's no possible way that he could also be wrong about Snape, because then what the fuck? Why are we looking up to this guy? The guy sucked. Like, you know, at that point, like, I was like, he must be coming back from the dead, or, you know, like the White Wizard situation in Lord of the Rings or something. Yeah. I didn't know. Something was going to happen, I thought, so.
I mean, so much is stolen from LOTR that I wouldn't be surprised if, you know, it would be terrible if Dumbledore came back as, like, you know, Dumbledore the White, because it'd be like so on the nose, but yeah, it's possible.
Yeah.
All right, I honestly didn't have any hates, so if you did, feel free to fire away.
One is not taking Hagrid's class. That kind of got my goat a little bit. It's a gym class. You know what I mean? That's what it is. It's gym. Yeah. And I also hate, like you mentioned earlier, Ginny living her best life and like living the shit to the full. I don't hear Ginny whine one fucking time about her OWLs, right? She doesn't say shit. She's just like, yeah, I'll fucking crush studying, but like I'm still gonna fucking get it in. It's fine. You know, we're good. But these guys are like, well, we're really busy. It's a fucking gym class. You're hanging out with your best friends and you're going and hanging out with your best friend teacher. Just take the class. You know what I mean? Like, it's not really me that much hard studying or anything like that. That pissed me off.
I would have loved for some background on this one where it's like, oh, what's going on in Care Magical Creatures? And they're doing like the best possible creatures this year. Like Hagrid just found his stride. You know, he was still learning. So he found his stride and he's doing awesome stuff. Because he even says, and it's in book 7, but he says like, oh, we got some unicorn babies in this year. Like you could have been playing with unicorn babies, but instead you decided not to take the class because it's too much for you. Like, get out of here.
Yeah, that annoyed me. I also thought the girls hating Floor, I kind of was on their side. She was kind of being sassy and like dickish about everything the Weasleys were doing. She's like, this music sucks. Like, oh, that's not how I would cook things. It's like, yeah, you're being a huge bitch.
Yeah,
like, you deserve kind of you got to deserve all this shit talk you're getting behind your back. So I didn't have any issue with that. But she's got to figure it out.
I did like the moment that her and Mrs. Weasley had with Bill, though. At the end.
That was nice. That was nice. That was the one thing you're like, oh, that's the one redeeming quality she has. But in book 4, she was not this conceited or.
We didn't really know, though. We didn't hang out with her that much.
Yeah, and then the last one, Percy just coming in and opening the door.
Oh my God.
That may be the most anger I got. I was like, you can knock, you piece of shit. Don't you ever walk into this house again. This is the Weasley's house, and you're not a Weasley anymore, you little bitch.
And then how does he not understand that how that's so messed up for how that would affect his family? Like, they love you, and they want to see you, and you come into Christmas dinner just so that you can bring the Minister of Magic, and then you get out. Like, oh, like, I would never, even, no matter what, I would never forgive him. Just bottom line.
Like, the thing, too, is, like, you can understand where Voldemort's coming from. He's not that bad of it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, you're like, I get it. He has got some motives. Percy is a worse person in my mind. You know what I mean? I just think he's a worse person.
Absolutely. Because what's he doing this for? Like, so he can become a person, like a political figure? Like, okay, so you're letting your family loose because of this? And this is after you know that Harry was right. So you can just say, my
disgusting.
bad. You know, you can hand up this. It's not a big deal. Yeah, I hated that scene. I got so angry. So mine were just basically lingering questions. How many Death Eaters are there? It's not really clear. It seems like there's this like small group of Death Eaters. So like, why are we super scared of them? Because every time we run into Death Eaters, it's like the same group of people. So it seems like they should just be able to take care of that. And like Voldemort's the only one that they should really be worried about. Like maybe Bellatrix, but yeah.
Well, they said it was like 30-1 at their height. So I think they're like recruiting and getting people back in.
Okay. 30-1 what?
30 Death Eaters for every one Order of the Phoenix.
Yeah, it's also like, why is the Order of the Phoenix the only one? Like, isn't there an army? Like, isn't there a wizard? Isn't there a wizard special forces or something like that can be involved in this? How do they identify wizards from Muggle families? Is this like a Cerebro kind of thing, X-Men? Like, how do they know Riddle was a wizard? How do they know Hermione's a wizard? How do they know these things?
Yeah, that's a good... I thought it was similar to like you're using magic under 18.
Oh,
like
so they have, which brings me to the other thing. They said if you're using magic when you're under 18, it's up to the under 17. It's up to the parents to disclose that it was a child. That whole thing doesn't make any sense to me. There's a big thing in there about how they only knew Harry did it because he was in a Muggle house that obviously had no other wizard people.
Yeah, that seems like some anti-non-pure blood laws.
100%, because then it's like, oh, so Ron could do it under his house and they wouldn't know. So it's up to the parents. And if I was a parent, I would encourage my kid to use like simple magic at home so that when he was able to use magic, that he knew what he was doing. It's just like, if I had a kid, I'd be like, yes, you can have a beer at home so that you understand when you go out that having 6 is probably not a good idea.
What are you thinking? Like 8 or 9 is probably better. Like there's no point in taking the calories. You're only getting 6 beers like a pussy. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. If Harry was so keen on what the Malfoys, if Draco was up to or he thought he did, why didn't he use the map earlier? It seemed like he waited a while before pulling the map out.
He was using it, but he couldn't see where he was because he was in the room of requirement.
Yeah, I know, but he kind of started that later on.
Okay.
The whole Horcruxes thing with Slughorn like not wanting to give the memory wasn't that bad. What is he so ashamed of? A student asked him some questions and he answered them, and he, in the memory, he was like, this is terrible stuff. You don't want to do this.
Also, Dumbledore being like, all right, Harry, you have all this shit you have to do, but why don't you go get this memory out of him? And that's your one job. And if you don't do it, I'm not going to be like, it's all right, keep working on it. I'm going to give you the stern, I'm not upset, I'm disappointed talk.
Yeah. We can't talk again until you get it.
I didn't major in sales. Like, that's not my job. Like, let me know what you think about this. But I thought it would have been almost better if we didn't see that first scene with Snape talking with Malfoy's mom.
Yeah.
It would have been a much bigger drop. I mean, it was still a big shock, but like that would have been even better, I thought. They're setting you up to think Snape is, which he does kill Dumbledore, but like is already a bad guy. So you're like, oh, so he's already a bad guy. We know that.
Yeah. I liked it. I think it was good because, for one, I didn't think Snape was going to kill Dumbledore because I didn't think about the unbreakable vow. I didn't think about that at the end. Everything was happening so fast that I wouldn't be able to recall back to that. But then after reading the book and you're thinking back on it, you'd be like, holy smokes, there was that whole first chapter or whatever with Snape doing the unbreakable vow. Like, oh, interesting. And that also kind of ties back to like what Snape does in the future. In general, I liked it because of those things. I wouldn't necessarily get rid of it, but I do understand what you're saying. All right, it's time to award the House Cup, Keith. Who gets the House Cup for you for Half-Blood Prince?
Yeah, House Cup goes to Harry and his big old nuts in this one. I mean, Harry was like shit-talking and bringing that hate all book. First, he runs into Draco's mom, and he, like, point blank, right to her face, starts shit-talking. I was like, oh, the respect your elders thing was thrown out the window real quick. He's shit-talking Dumbledore, him and the Minister of Magic.
Minister of Magic. He's Scrimgeour. He just, like, goes off on nonstop.
That was incredible. Yeah, I was...
Imagine, like, the President of the United States walks into your house, and you're like, sit down, bitch. I got some words for you.
Yeah. Oh, you want me to help you?
How about you kick rocks? Where's Stan Shunpike?
I mean, I already mentioned on the Ginny, positives, but he just went up to Ginny. There's been no like romantic inclinations for the last like 5 years, and he just goes up to Ginny. He's like, "This is my girl now," and starts making out with her. Like, no pretext, nothing. I'm like, huh? What? She just broke up with someone. I was like, God damn, Harry's got that fucking game apparently.
Yeah, he's like J.K. Simmons in Oz or something like that. He's just like the cock of the walk and walks up and he's like, this is my prison bitch now. It's like, oh, all right, sure, whatever.
That is a deep drop. I don't know it, but I know Oz is in a prison, so I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, J.K. Simmons plays the most ridiculous character, but yeah, I couldn't agree with more. Harry absolutely crushes it. I mean, I understand that he hates the Ministry so much, but the President of the United States walks into your house. I feel like it'd be hard to be like, all right, shut your mouth and let me talk.
I also don't think I mean, as much that I hate the Ministry, but I don't think he was like, hey, we need some like moral support. Can you help us out? And he's like, go fuck yourself. I was like, all right, I guess that's one way to. I feel like you do a little scratch your back, like you scratch my back thing there, and I'm okay with that.
100%. Or you're like, hey, you have a negotiation. Like his negotiation tactics aren't there. It's like, okay, hey, you guys have fucked me over a bunch of times, so I'm happy to show support for our government because they're the ones that are against Voldemort. But like, I need some other things. I need Stan Shunpike released so that in the next book he can start killing people because he is a Death Eater. It turns out. Spoiler alert for book 7. But I agree. Harry had some big old nuts in this one, and then he turns on the waterworks for Slughorn. Like, oh, my mom. I thought you said she was your favorite student. He's a little manipulative. Could have been in Slytherin, this kid. Could have been in Slytherin.
Yeah.
For my House Cup, I would love to give it to Dumbledore as an honor after his death, and because we get so much of him in this book, but we've already discussed how he blew it, and so I'm going to give the House Cup to Hogwarts itself. I think this book, we get a perfect little Hogwarts situation. I mean, early on, I loved all the Hogwarts stuff because we were learning about it. I'm really sad after reading this book because we know in book 7 that they don't return to Hogwarts. And I know they do come back, obviously, for the Battle of Hogwarts, which is awesome, and I'm excited to read that again. But losing Dumbledore is one thing, but it's even sadder to leave, like, the mundane Hogwarts life forever, which is what we've experienced. Like, all the little stuff that happened in the last 6 books about, them just silly things that happen in class or on the Quidditch pitch or going down to Hagrid's hut or just in the hallways or with Peeves, all of those little things that, really didn't have anything to do with the plot line, but had so much to do with like building this story up. I loved all of that, and knowing that it's over and really Hogwarts is only back for this like epic battle scene is just really sad, because Hogwarts has so much majesty and beauty and so much amazing things that happened in that place that losing that is really sad. And I know that, you know, we've read these books a bunch of times and I can always go back and revisit them, but I'm not going to be doing that anytime soon. So it almost feels like I'm losing something all over again. And I just love Hogwarts so much. So, you know, I had to give the House Cup to Hogwarts. It's got so many fun mysteries and all the little things. You know, if those walls could talk, I'm sad we're leaving Hogwarts. I'm honestly more sad about that than losing Dumbledore on this reread. I used to think it was like, oh, this is terrible, we lost Dumbledore. But after this reread, it's like he's in the other books like a little bit. He's in this book a lot. I loved what we got, but I didn't care as much this time around that he wasn't going to be in it anymore.
But you said mundane. That word is a negative connotation, but it's the mundane part is the best.
Yeah,
part.
exactly.
I want to be in the mundane, if that's the case.
Yeah, exactly. Like, whatever they say, like, life's the things that happen as you're waiting around for other stuff to happen or some bullshit like that. I don't know what the quote is, but that's what Hogwarts is.
Dumbledore quotes. Dumpy quotes. There we
Dumpy
go.
quotes. All right, Keith, what do we got coming up next?
Finishing this thing out. We got the movie up next, and then we're going to close it out, book 7. I don't even know what we'll do after this.
Yeah, we have to go on vacation or
Cry.
something.
We should have saved Red Rising for after this,
I
not
know.
before
That was
it.
a big mistake. We'll figure something out, but
Someone's got to give us the best series of all time. Someone's got to pass it along.
well, the journey is almost over, but I'm excited to watch this movie because I feel like I don't remember it whatsoever. So I'm excited for that. And then obviously I'm already into book 7. I'm pretty much have not listened to any like sports stuff, and I'm just listening to this book because I love it so much. So I'm excited for that too. All right, Keith, I'll catch you for the movie next time, and you guys can come back and finish the journey with us.
Indeed.
Bye now.
Bye now.